Welcome to the Creativity, Thinking, and Education podcast with your host, Patricia Rose Upsack. Today we are going to continue our conversation with the remarkable Jeff Goelitz from HeartMath. When he comes to my house, which he does frequently, at 9 o'clock, I go, tell your friends goodbye, and he hands me his phone, and I turn it off, and he doesn't get it again till the next morning after he's had breakfast. And he doesn't even argue with me about it. It's funny because he'll argue with, other people about it, but he just says, "Here, Nona." I'm half Italian and half Irish, so I got to be Nona. And he says, "Here, Nona." He said, "Here, Nona, here's my phone." I said, "Thank you, sweetie." And so it's gotten to the point where even his friends, they know when he's spending the night at my house that they're not going to, because otherwise they're connected all the time, and it's just not good for them,
It's just relentless, and that's why there's a concept called bottom-up processing, where if you look at the relentless stimulation that social media computers bring, let alone just being in the world, if you're walking around, you just see people on their smartphones at the bus stops, shopping centers, whatnot, and so that noise, which is constant, is what you're talking about, Patricia. Right. To actually choose to disengage from that noise, be in the world but not of it, and just to kind of slow down the rhythms inside our body, inside our heart, and whether it's a walk in nature, it's doing something kind for someone, which is an act of giving. It's painting, doing yoga, prayer and solitude, just walking the dog down the street. Mm-hmm. These moments, and there's many, many more, are sacred is almost an overstatement. But again, finding those important moments where we can slow down on the inside on a regular basis, it helps everything. Helps our physiology, our health, our body, our decision-makings, the quality of our emotions, the quality of our decision-making, the quality of our relationships. And this is well documented now. Many, many studies have shown this. So it's a ripe time for these ideas to come forth like we've never seen before amidst some of the strife and uncertainty that we're finding.
Well, and I think that actually it might be a perfect time, and that will help a lot of people, because it sounds like it would. So we're moving on to our list here, because I want to be sure that we get into everything. And then of course, you might end up getting to tell us even more than what's on the list. And of course, you might not even know where this list comes from. But companionship and self-love. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. It's first. I don't know who put this list forth, but they're good. They're really good points. So companionship and self-love. It's I dare say that having some form of community, whether it's with one or two people or a larger group of people, whether it's formal or informal, is really, really important, because we all need. There's a craving for some kind of social relationship. There's much bigger than just ourselves. No man is an island, which some poet said centuries ago. Yeah. We are dependent on people, not only to get things done, but for our well-being. And that necessitates learning how to get along people, how to talk to people, how to develop some social intelligence, just because that exchange between people is so important. It can kind of take off some of the edges of our personality, our beliefs, or idealisms. It can correct or bring some balance to our perspectives. We hear how other people live. There's an exchange of energy between people. It's what we call an energetic relationship, where we want to choose our companionships that are obviously uplifting, that gives us some kind of reward, but aren't just yes people, that we want to be challenged or at least supported in having some of our beliefs challenged if they're off the charts, so to speak. So companionship is really, really important, community of sorts, to do well these days. Otherwise, if we're left by ourselves, we tend to kind of implode among ourselves. And then with self-love, another huge topic. Self-love is kind of an elusive attitude because a lot of us associate self-love with self-aggrandizement or egotism.
Oh, no.
But no, I know where you come from. But in its largest sense, and actually this is more of a Buddhist sense, it's really having compassion and understanding that life is a learning process. We're all going to make all kinds of mistakes. We all have our weak table legs. For me, I get impatient. I get frustrated if things now, and that shows up a lot. So, and feedback from different people, directly or indirectly, where you take the cues of life from compassion, and then you make these adjustments in your behavior and your thinking, but not going to self-blame or self-loathing, because life is a learning process. So part of self-love is embracing some degree of compassion. I made a mistake today, I offended someone, and without getting defensive or carrying on the luggage from that event, the history, we try to be honest with ourselves and say, yeah, I did this. I have my strengths, I have my assets, and I have my deficits. I have my areas, my habits, which are not healthy for me or others. But I'm human, so let me embrace my full humanness and breathe in some compassion for myself, just like in the Lord's Prayer, forgive me for what I've done, just as we forgive the sins of others. So it's embedded in our culture.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We have the golden rule, very hard to live up to, but it's all part of a practice, a higher goal to achieve. But it takes a continuity of practice, of self-reflection, of kind of being with oneself and getting to know oneself. Going back to Socrates, know thyself is the most important act of life. And so in that self-knowledge and that self-reflection, you see some of the corners of yourself, some of the hidden shadows or crevices. And you go, okay, that's me. But I've also got these bright spots.
Right.
And without getting overly self-critical or self-analytical, which is not necessarily the act of self-love or self-compassion, finding the right balance. And it's a zigzag path. It's not a straight path. It takes practice, and that's where having some of the dialogue, having a companion to talk ideas, to share thoughts, feelings, experience, companion's perspective.
Mm-hmm. Right.
To feel like you've been understood, which is so much the loneliness that some of us might is really actions of being human, is to have this, which only reinforces the strengths.
Well, they also, I think, that it's important to be able to learn how to listen to people. You know, what I've discovered is that a lot of times you see people talking, but they never kind of get really quiet and just listen. The other thing that we probably would like to talk about is, do you have programs specifically for teachers around HeartMath? There's a couple ways to go. We have a personal resilience mentoring. It's an individual course. It's 4 sessions. It's a coaching mentoring class, actually. It's not a class. It's more personalized mentoring, one-on-one. Mm-hmm. So we have professional coaches that do that. That it's all very proactive, very resilience building. We also have trainings. We have online trainings if you want to become a coach mentor, called the HeartMath Coach Mentoring Program. We have programs for someone who wants to train other people in HeartMath. It's called the HeartMath Certified Training Program, and that happens 4 or 5 times a year. And then we also have a program for mental health specialists, for clinicians, or even for physicians and now nurses who want to bring this to their clients and their patients who are struggling with depression or anxiety.
So we do have a lot of stuff going on. It keeps me busy.
Well, that's good because busy keeps us all happy, I think.
Yes, I think you're right there, Patricia. Yes.
So then the next thing on my list that you don't have a clue where it came from, I don't even know where it came from either, but is to bring compassion and depth of heart into relationships, into key relationships.
Yeah, this is a layered, subtle concept here, an idea we're talking about here.
Okay.
A lot depends on the relationship, its history, what's the context of the relationship. Is it marriage? Is it friendship? Is it professional? Is it a teacher to a student or a grandmother to a grandchild? Mm-hmm. So all those contexts determine something like that. But we talk a lot about how in a relationship, how there can be drama and histories. Let me explain. Picture for a second an iceberg.
Okay, I've got it.
Okay, and at the top, just peeking outside the water is the tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
And think of that as an incident or an interaction with a person where let's say there's been a disagreement. Then the two people go their separate ways, but anyone who was disgruntled or upset from that, that's what translates in the bottom of the iceberg, beneath the surface. Ah. So that's when we leave that first interaction and we ponder it, we think about it, we brood about it, we justify it, we get into a mood about it. We're not in the moment. We're still pondering of how what that person did was not right, not fair, it's unjust, and I'm going to go tell someone else and voice my complaint.
Right.
And what happens is that actually recreates the whole incident over and over again,
right,
filling the body full of biochemicals and hormones, and actually it's what we call drama. Oh. Now, sometimes there's really hurtful situations or unjust situations, and we're just trying to cope and recover from anger or pain. Those are real. But many, and I would argue most, don't take on that type of weightiness. And we take on the history of this person is such and such, and we judge people, we blame people out of defensiveness.
Right.
What happens the next time we see that person? What are we bringing to that relationship?
Yeah.
A history.
A history, right.
We see that person in a certain light. So relationship building, whether it's in marriage, friendship, easier with a grandparent and grandkid.
Absolutely.
less ties there.
Right.
Yep. Less ties there. Professionals, maybe, depends a lot. But how to keep clean, how to keep managing our own internal histories, judgments, blames, be conscious of those, try to neutralize them as best possible, breathe through the heart, take out any significance or drama that you're accumulating. It takes work. It takes practice.
Right.
And then try to bring the best of your heart to that situation, whether it's understanding, kindness, patience, tolerance, let alone love. And when we could do that, when we can bring that depth of heart, which is where we kind of started, to those relationships, whether they're professional or personal, and try to clean up some of our histories or baggage, that's some of the best qualities of being human. And it kind of to err is to be human. What Shakespeare said that 400 or 500 years ago. Right. And so we're all gonna make mistakes. We're all gonna fall on our face. We're gonna offend people. We're gonna say something we didn't mean. And can we bring in nobility and dignity of who we are, leave that behind, whether it's self-blame or blame towards others, and then bring that love, that compassion, that depth of heart. That's what's really required now for us as human beings in 2016 in this current environment.
Right, right. That's wonderful. I mean, it really is wonderful. The other thing I really would like you to do, if you have time, is to chat with us a little bit about you had said the other day that you're starting some programs in Mexico. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we're a global organization, meaning we have trainers in our technologies.
Where are you if you're global? Tell me about that.
Oh gosh, we have a long-standing contract with China, a training company there.
Okay.
We've got a lot in Europe. This is England, Holland, Germany, Belgium, and Canada, and then Mexico, South America. So we're growing. We have a lot of trainers and some licensees. And one of the more interesting areas that we're growing in is Mexico. And we happen to, somebody did some research, and it's a private school movement. I won't share their name, but they're large.
Okay.
And they use iPads for their kids.
Wow.
Now, that's not uncommon for many American schools to have tablets.
Right.
But what's really interesting about what this school does, and they do from kindergarten up to 8th grade, is they're asking these students to be problem solvers, to investigate problems and be researchers, investigators. And it's not just pouring information into them in the traditional education where I want you to read this book, study it, listen to my lecture, and then we'll have a test. It's much more interactive and investigative. And I would say it's among the most brilliant education process I've ever seen. And they've partnered with HeartMath to bring HeartMath to their schools. It's being piloted right now, and my colleague and I are going down to Mexico to visit them and see what's up, what they're doing with us. They have some kind of a license agreement here. And it's just extraordinary what I've seen kindergartners do a PowerPoint presentation with their iPad, showing through some kind of an LCD screen on a screen, talking about their family and being able to explain who their family members are and what they like, to watching a combination 4th grade, 5th grade classroom giving a multimedia presentation on how to solve world hunger. And this is using a green screen with all sorts of media technology. They have a recording room all through their iPad. And so they're learning advances in technology way beyond what would be true for most kids their age. But they're also becoming very literate in new technologies, but also investigating some really big topics.
It sounds like
it is, and they don't shy away from the big topics, like solving world hunger, eliminating dependence of oil, or cleaning up the garbage in oceans, or eliminating racism, eliminating war. They don't shy away from those topics, but they're also learning their core academic skills simultaneously.
Right.
But just the end is more of projects rather than excel in math or excel in science or English. Those topics become ends, or means rather, to a bigger end of problem solving. And it just engages a creative capacity in children that was nothing short of brilliant.
Well, and I think that's what you just said is the key. If you have them engaged, there's so much that they can do.
Yes. Yep. I mean, it was just striking. I just shook my head and I've never seen this, and I've been to hundreds of schools, and it was pretty amazing.
Wow.
Yes.
So we don't have a lot more time, but we do have a bit. Is there anything we haven't covered that you would just love to talk about? This is your chance, Jeff.
Oh, well, I would say, thank you. Well, starting in January, HeartMath is going to be offering something called Add Heart Daily Calls.
Ooh.
And I'll be one of the facilitators on that. And it's just I think it's a $9.95 monthly subscription service. It's not much at all, really. Where daily, Monday through Friday, you get on this 10-minute phone call with an optional 5 minutes of just comments afterwards with some kind of supportive website. And be led through some of these practices that I've been talking about, but not in a teacherish, top-down way, but more of an inclusive collaborative way.
Okay.
Of how can we bring more depth to our lives with all these challenges that are facing us, and learn from those challenges, not shy away from them, and be more loving, more compassionate, more appreciative, pull back when we normally might want to pull forward, and push forward when we might normally want to pull back. Speak when we normally might not speak, or remain silent when ordinarily we might want to speak. It's pulling on your intuition, this other capacity inside us to kind of read the tea leaves. But it takes slowing down some of that noise in our head, to take a brain break, to connect with the depth of our heart, to hear that voice of clarity. And that's what that Add Heart Daily Calls is all about. And it starts somewhere in January 2017. So it should be, and I've been privileged to be part of that and do all the pilots in the last couple months, actually, with feedback and refinement and balance. So it's very exciting. This community, I think, will grow, and it'll be a daily practice to support around the world, globally, perhaps thousands of people who partake in that.
That just sounds wonderful, and I hope that. So what we're going to be doing is we're actually turning this hour into 2 parts, and the second part is going to be happening at around the end of January, so we can go and start looking.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So it'll be wonderful. Okay, well, again, because I don't want to forget, and I do want people to be able to find you and to find HeartMath, could you tell them the website again, please? And any contact information that you want.
Yeah, it's www.heartmath, HEART, like the heart that beats in the chest, math, MATH, all one word, heartmath.com, or excuse me, .org. The for-profit is .com. We're the nonprofit .org. Okay. And you can find contact information for myself or for other people on that website. There's a lot of choices, a lot of resources there, free resources where you can check stuff out. We have a whole research library. We have a whole thing on programs and a whole section on resources. I think there's 8 to 10 videos there that you can watch. Some of them are fun animations. And a store for some of our products if you are interested.
Okay. Well, this has been just extraordinary, and you have really given the core of what HeartMath is about, and that's really what I wanted. And maybe in a year, if you're not so overwhelmed with all the wonderful things you're doing, we can have you come back and give us an update on what's going on.
Patricia, thank you so much for having me, and you're doing some great work with this service you're offering. So thank you for the invitation to join you.
Yes, well, thank you for accepting. So thank you very much. And this has been Creativity, Thinking, and Education podcast, and we will see you again next week. Thank you for joining me here at the Creativity, Thinking, and Education podcast. Please visit us at happyteachershappystudents.com. And if you find value in this podcast and the message that we are trying to spread, then click the subscribe button and give my show a review, hopefully a good one. I am so excited to be able to share the timeless awareness of all of these wonderful presenters. Thank you, and we'll talk to you again next Tuesday.